In this interview, I'm speaking to Rachel David to talk to her about social media customer service, managing remote employees, and I'm going to ask her about the Jerk King fiasco. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I've got the brilliant Rachel David with me to talk all things social media customer service, influencer marketing, and managing a remote team. All things that you can speak to in a professional, expert manner, which is why I invited you. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to jump right into it because I saw something this weekend where you went off. You went off on Instagram story about a restaurant called Jerk King.
Don't say it fast.
and Uber and Uber Eats.
Yeah.
Tell everyone the story.
Okay. So I am like a huge Uber Eats. I feel like most people, like, most millennials love their Uber Eats.
How many days a week though?
Probably on average 4.
Okay.
Yeah. But like in the snow, especially, it's like maybe a little bit more. But I work. You'd think like working from home, you would use less Uber Eats, but no, I'm just always home. Like it sounds really nice to like not leave my bed right now and just have it delivered. So I use it a lot. Anyways, this was a couple days ago. I ended up. Oh God, it was so rattling. I ended up ordering my Jerk King, my favorite jerk chicken on Uber Eats, and I saw that I accidentally had my friend's address in there. So I quickly deleted it. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to send it to my friend's address. Like, I don't even know if they're home. Like, maybe it would be, like, yes, I would if I knew they were home, but like, I don't know. And did they even like jerk chicken? I don't know. So I just was like, let's cancel it. But then there was a notification that said, you're going to be charged $17.50 to cancel this. But in my mind, I'm like, that's a spelling typo. It's $1.50. It's not $17.50. You're not charging me $17.50 in 1 second. Nope, they are. So I said cancel. And then I get the thing and it's like on my history and it was like, you just got charged $17.50 for nothing. And so I was like, okay, that's ridiculous. So I ended up sending a note to Uber Eats on, you can send them a message through the in-app service, and I didn't hear a response. So then I found a number, and I was like, okay, well, I will reach out to that number and talk to somebody. So the man on the other line was really nice, and he's like, yeah, I'm really sorry you're going through this. Let me try to call the restaurant. We can't do anything here at Uber Eats. We actually can't do anything, which I find that hard to believe, but he's like, but what I can do is call the restaurant, because I guess it's like they set their own rules and parameters. Right. So he tried calling the restaurant 13 times. He's like, I'm going to put you on hold for 5 minutes. And then he's like, sorry, I haven't gotten a hold of them yet. I'm going to put you on hold for another 5-10 minutes. I'm like, at this point, I'm just like, this is really bothering me. Like I started getting pretty rattled. And then he picks up the phone and goes, I'm really sorry. We can't get a hold of them. And I've tried 13 times. I was like, okay, well, first of all, how am I even going to order? How are they even preparing my order if nobody is there and picking up the phone? Like, who is this ghost preparing my food? So I was like, okay, cool. Can I call them? And he's like, yeah, you can try and see if they can do something. And that's when I just got angry. I was like, so I tried calling, nobody picked up. So then I was like, I'm going to order again. Let's see if they are there. Are they going to send it to me? Because I would like to look this Uber Eats, even though I know it's not his fault. I just want to, I need to, let this out. So I was like, come to my place, look me in the eye, and really tell me that, nobody's in the restaurant to pick up the phone. Just pick up the phone.
This is pretty sinister.
Who was that? Pick up the phone, baby. Who was that? Young Thug? No? I don't know. I feel like you would know.
Kiss me through the
Oh,
phone.
No, that's a good one. No, I was thinking, pick up the phone, baby. I'm in your own bed. What, you know it? What's that song? Young Thug. See, I was right. There you go. Culture.
So you're documenting this whole experience
on my Instagram
story.
Well, because at that point when they didn't pick up the phone, right. I was like, well, what can I do? I guess I have my social media and I can tell people. Because really, at the end of the day, the thing I love is that you can advise people what to do and what not to do. I think that's a super unfair thing to make the thing is, if you wait to cancel it in like 10 minutes, that's one thing. But like within a second, come on. So I told people on my social media, this is what happened. So just so you know, make sure you have the address right because you could be charged, a ridiculous fee in a matter of just like a quick little mistake. Like there's no mercy. So then I put this on my Uber, or sorry, on my Instagram, and I tagged Uber and Jerk King. Well, Jerk King didn't have social media, obviously. They don't even have a phone. So so I hashtagged Jerk King, and I'm like, I was just telling the whole story and was like, all right, maybe I should switch from Uber Eats. Like maybe, like, what's up, Fedora? And I like did a little like wave. And then Fedora reached out within a second.
I saw that.
That was pretty wild. Like, it was literally in 5 minutes to be like, hey, here's a promo code.
So does immediacy, obviously that positively impacts social media customer service, but what else has to be brought to the table for a brand to be great at leveraging social media as a communication tool with their customers?
Well, I mean, to finish off with where the story ended was that Uber Eats actually saw what Fedora, because I tagged them in the whole thing. So in the end, right after I did that, they messaged and was like, sorry, we've refunded you. So was the social media aspect of kind of putting them, I think, out there and being like, hey, hold yourself accountable to that. You shouldn't be doing this. And so when they told me they couldn't do anything and then they could, to be honest, that like kind of, it did still bother me because I was like, don't do this to other people. Like just because maybe like if you're verified on Instagram, you have a lot of followers, you can make change. Like you should really be doing this and treating people equally. So
what about the authenticity part of it? Because it sounds like they weren't going to do anything about it until you pretty much had your foot on their throat being like, hey, your competitor's talking to me right now, and then they change their behavior.
Yeah.
So would you suggest that authenticity has to be a pillar to being great at social media customer service?
I think it comes down to what you preach, which is like start from like what are the pillars of their culture, and like for me at my company, it's like it's just being kind to people, and treating people with just don't be a dick. Do you know what I mean? Like don't be a dick. And if you really follow that, like in my world, like in the way I lead my life, I think every even person has their own sort of morals and values, obviously, in the way that they lead their life. And especially as a CEO, you have to create that culture. So you have to lead by example. So that's like, you are nice to everybody. Like for me, it's like you're the Uber driver, you're the server, whoever it is, like you treat them all equally and with the same level of respect and kindness, right? So I think that goes in hand with a company as large as Uber. It's like, what are the pillars of customer service? What actually can and can't you do? And I think communication is one of the hardest things, especially as you scale. Like Uber scaled so quickly. So I kind of understand how maybe some departments know certain things and maybe some others don't. But I think all getting on the same page is and being united. Unity is really big.
When a customer has been wronged but had that wrongdoing resolved, do you think we as consumers have the ownership to go back online and say company ABC did it well? Or is that just expectation and table stakes?
I think that it's a nice thing to praise somebody for doing the right thing because everybody loves acknowledgement. And I think that you're able to motivate people through acknowledging them. So,
for the record, I did not prompt her to say that because I'm just about to go on a tangent very briefly. It's our responsibility as consumers to help power great experiences. There's somebody, a human being at the end of the interaction that just wants to be acknowledged. And if you give them that gratitude for a job well done, it's going to empower them to want to do it again and again. Mm-hmm. That is our responsibility as consumers to better the customer experience. Mm-hmm. What companies are doing social media customer service really well? Do you like watch from afar and you're like, that company is doing it?
Customer service really well. I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind is like the amount of e-commerce brands that started e-commerce. They weren't bricks and mortar and then went e-commerce. So you're looking at like companies like Fashion Nova that are like responding to every DM so quickly, because it's like social media is their thing.
Yeah.
So that they've kind of taken it to a different level. I think that there's I think brands are getting a lot smarter when it comes to campaigns on social media and how they are trying to get attention from people. There was something wild that happened about a week or two ago. I don't know if you saw it with Casey Neistat and Burger King.
I did. But share the story, please.
Okay, so long story short, basically Burger King went into really big social media influencers' Twitter, and they scrolled farther, like back, like 10 years. Now, anybody who gets a liked tweet from 10 years ago and I'm guessing Burger King is verified. So when you're verified on Twitter, you immediately get a notification that somebody liked or commented. So that's why getting verified on Twitter, I think, is one of the best verification social networks to be verified on, because you can get a hold of anybody. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. So Burger King went and liked a bunch of influencers' tweets from 10 years ago. And so obviously the reaction's like, why are they liking our tweets from 10 years ago? So then they tweeted so Casey tweeted at Burger King, why did you like my tweet from 10 years ago? And it was all kind of part of this big campaign to get influencers talking about Burger King without sponsoring or paying them to do so. And then it kind of pissed off a lot of influencers. So there's a good and bad way.
You mentioned Fashion Nova. I was just thinking about them the other day and being like, this company seemingly came out of nowhere and dominated social media by leveraging influencers. What type of perception is given when a company leverages influencers? Like, what customer perception?
Well, something I mean, this is the world I work in. I run an influencer marketing company, and so I have had to look at, the reason why I even chose this field is because I know it's on an upward trajectory. It's a $4.5 billion industry right now in North America. It's going to be a $10 billion industry in 2020. That's like, what, next year? That's pretty crazy. So we're seeing it go upwards. And I think the reason is because of the loyalty that people have, especially millennials. Millennials, their consumer, like when they're buying something, 60% of consumer products, especially made online by a millennial, are made by something they see on social media. And that is because they're spending, like, on average, 9 hours a day on social media. That's pretty crazy. But if you think about it, like between Twitch and Instagram and Twitter, it's like, I spend a lot of time on those social networks as well. And YouTube, like, so I think that it provides this sort of, brand trust when they see an influencer, because some of them spend more time with their YouTube friends than they do with their real life friends. I've seen e-commerce brands virtually transform. I don't know if you know the company Hi Smile. They're like a teeth whitening brand. Oh, yeah. It's a really like cute consumer, like it's a photographable, it lends itself really well to Instagram. And there was this headline that I read, and it was a couple 20-something-year-olds turn a few $1,000s into a $40 million business. And within 18 months, their company was at $10 million, and they did a brand deal with Kylie Jenner. And when Kylie Jenner was on the rise, I think she was at 75 million followers at the time. Now she's well over that. But their company, it was like, it's working. It's really working for brands. I think doing it effectively is a whole other thing.
I think influencer marketing can actually better the customer experience if the person delivering the message can be trusted. Are celebrities trusted?
Well,
big time celebrities.
That's an interesting question, because apparently if you look at the data, only 3% of consumer products are sold because of a celebrity endorsement. And this makes sense. I gave this example in this, actually, like I did a TED Talk for the first time in September, which was a huge honor. And one of the things that I pointed out was, this makes sense that only 3% is of a conversion rate, really, because if you look at somebody, like I take like Jennifer Aniston as an example, and like I know like she is not using Aveeno every day. Like, I mean, she might, but like I know that she's got the money to have these like weird vampire facials and like, like you might be doing that and Aveeno, but it's not just Aveeno. So it's like, and I know that because I see your lifestyle and I see your friends, and like I just don't really, I don't relate to her. She is not me. We are in totally different places in our lives. And so it's like, if it's an influencer that maybe is in also like the same sort of tax bracket that I'm in, and like we're looking for a good product that's going to help the wrinkles go away, but they're like, yeah, it's a little bit more money, but it really works.
Yeah.
I'm going to trust them.
And I was last year, McDonald's Canada reached out to me to help them with their National Hiring Day campaign.
Okay.
And when they first reached out to me, and we can link up the video for that. But when they first reached out to me, I was like, they probably have the wrong person. Why are they reaching out to me? But then when the PR agency that we were working with like chatted with me, and they were like, you're like a micro influencer. I was like, is that insulting?
What do you mean? They didn't say nano influencer though. That's the new word.
A nano influencer.
Yeah.
How many?
It goes like nano, micro, macro.
Like, is there less than a nano?
No, I
What's
don't think
nano?
so. I think a nano is basically considered like a person who, I think it's under 1,000 followers.
Okay.
Like probably in like the 800 follower range. Like they're your everyday person who, because the engagement rates are high for smaller Instagrammers. Like,
and is it more authentic and believable?
Yes.
Goes to your point. So influencer marketing is growing. You said by 2020 it will double.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like they're going. The topic is going away anytime soon, which is fantastic for your business. Do you think that some companies are still asking the ROI? What is the ROI of influencer marketing or social media customer service?
Yeah.
For me, it's perplexing that some companies might still be asking that, but what are you hearing?
I mean, I hear that question in every meeting I ever go to, and my response is, well, A, who are you? Like, what brand are you? Are you Adidas or are you Skinny Bunny Tea? Like, the price of what you are going to pay an influencer also is determined of who your brand is. What's your culture? What do you stand for? And so that also indicates the likelihood of like how many sales are really made. Okay. Like it's easier to sell a very unique product that's maybe you've seen on Dragon's Den that's new to the market and everybody wants it, and it's going to really benefit their lives, opposed to a product like I did a deal with. It's really difficult because I did a deal with it's an eyewear company, and this eyewear company, the promo that these influencers had to give wasn't probably high enough. It's really difficult for people to buy glasses, prescription glasses on the website, and the UX design of the website was not easy to navigate. So it all of a sudden makes an ROI very difficult to measure because I can lead the horse to water, but I can't make it drink, right? So that's the whole. It's the company that has to, all those things need to be thought through before doing anything. Like as soon as you implement an influencer campaign, you're going to get lots of eyeballs. Right. So everything has to be in place.
Got it. Yeah. I want to transition to having a conversation about managing remote employees. Mm-hmm. Your team primarily, if not everyone, is remote.
Yes.
How do you build a company culture when your team don't come to the same office as you every single day? As their leader, How do you do that?
Well, I've taken a lot of different approaches to how I want to build my team. I think it's really important to think of what's important to you. For me, freedom is very important to me. And also, I'm a person that I'm a people pleaser a little bit. So if I have people around me all the time, I'm going to want to make sure they're always good, know? Therefore, I'm not using my brain on things like actual strategy, which is what I'm getting hired to do, So I really had to analyze. Also, offices are hella expensive, especially in Toronto. So is that an overhead cost that I want to charge my client? There's all these factors, and is it that necessary? So what I have done in the past, I have had, a place where everybody joins together, like a workplace, and I wanted to see sort of what the energy was like. And if anything, they were more stiff. I don't need my staff to be stiff. I need them to come up with good ideas and do the work. So then I transitioned to, well, how about everybody comes over on a Sunday? That was my thing that I did for about 2 years. Every Sunday, my door's open to you. I'm going to cook for you. We're going to have a nice time. I'm going to create a family environment. And essentially, I want them to know that I care for them. And so I'm opening my home to them. And I want to hear, I want to get to know them, right? I want to know their goals. I want to know what they're trying to achieve, right? And And I think the biggest thing about when you're working with the staff is just making it so they care. Okay, like that's at the crux. Like a lot of times what we do now, especially in marketing, it's not like a 9 to 5 job, especially on social media and working with influencers, because they could be posting at all different times. We also work with companies in Asia. That's a 24-hour now. Now I'm working at midnight. So I need a staff that's pretty flexible and also cares. So I did that, and then just recently I've transitioned to, because I will say this, and what I'm learning is understanding my boundaries as a boss and as a friend. Okay. So the personal and business, which I never thought that was a thing, but it weighs a lot on me because I care so much. So then I start thinking of these things, and then I'm like, and then when you know too much, then you're like, is this person stable to do this? And like whatever it is, and then it almost takes away from the actual task. So I'm now learning that maybe what I want to do, and this is something I'm going to start trying to do, is every month doing a really awesome family style dinner with everybody in the company. So once a month, if they can make it, and everybody likes to eat, and like I'd rather have that good experience left in their mind than anything. Like that's all I want, is them to be happy. So when they think of hashtag, and when they see an email from me, that it's not a trigger of like stress, oh my God, Rachel, she's gonna be angry. It's like, no, that's my friend, no, that person cares. Oh, she's somebody that I have a good feeling when I think of.
Speaking of food, let's say you're on death row. What would be your last meal?
I feel like I must have told you this one time. Really?
The only reason I asked this question to like nearly everyone I meet.
Well, I'm a pretty simple woman. I like a good burger.
Okay.
I love a good burger.
All right.
Oh my God.
Go. You mentioned freedom. I recently was on a podcast with Patty McCord. She was the VP of HR for about 15 years, I believe, at Netflix. And Netflix, one of their core values is employee freedom.
Okay.
Along with that, what are some things that you are doing within the company, whether it's strategies or processes, to make sure that your remote team is productive? Because you have that separation.
So one thing I do is I always put in deadlines.
Okay.
So I'll never be like, hey, can you do this? I'll always say, hey, can you do this, but within this time? Can you get it to me by this time? And then I put it in my calendar. So I go, okay, ask so-and-so for this thing. And so it's just like an immediate 1-2. And I also now have started, it's all pillars, right? So I have like one account that is completely managed by that point person. So she reports directly into me, and then she has people that she manages. So I just have to give the sort of ask, and then they also manage that. Or like they take it from me. It's almost like I feel like I run 5 companies at once. So it's about, like you said, instilling that you have confidence in them, that you're proud of them, that you appreciate them. In all my emails, because typically they're doing really great and they are going above and beyond. And I am just like one girl, she's on like a staycation in Niagara Falls, and this client just came through, and I was like, do you want to help me with this deck? Like, it's a new account, it's really big, you don't have to, but like, I'd love to get you in on the ground floor. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And it's like, she is doing this, like her poor boyfriend, Another thing was sort of knowing what I believe in as like Rachel and what I stand for. So one of the things is female empowerment. Okay. For the first 3 years, I've only hired women, actually, which is a little bit controversial. But, I come from a background where I worked in television for years, and a lot of my self-worth was predicated on the way that I look. And it wasn't for my brain. It was for the way that I looked on camera and I could say lines. And I was so devastated when I was let go from that job. And that it's all over YouTube, my story and everything of how that happened. Well, link it up below. It's quite emotional. And it's just been such a empowering feeling to make things happen or create things that have never been created, or provide jobs to people, and just feel that empowerment from your brain rather than just your body, So That's been something really big for me. Although I did just hire my first guy
So
3 weeks ago.
So let's say I applied for whatever position.
Yeah.
How would you describe your leadership style to me if I asked you in the interview process? How does Rachel David lead?
Yeah, I am. I lead by example. Okay. And that's why you see on my Instagram, it's like midnight. I'm like, I'm still working, you know? So I need them to know, actually, Gary Vaynerchuk, you know, love him or hate him, he, I think, has taught me that you need to lead by example. So even if I travel, you know, I am working when I travel, you know, it's listen, have fun, but get it done.
Sure.
Have fun, but get it done. I like that. Is that a quote already?
Well, Jordan, you're trademarking that.
No, I want it. That's how I'm going to end my YouTube videos.
Get the URL.
My last question is, if you were to hire any influencer, who would it be to join your team?
Oh, well, that's an interesting question because I don't hire influencers. So I should just preface.
Let's say hashtag communications got to a point where
I was signing influencers exclusively?
Yes.
Because we basically work with everyone. All the management companies, a brand calls us and we'll be like, we need to get this done. So my whole thing is that I don't want to sign them because then I'm pigeoned into, you know, say McDonald's calls and they're like, oh, we have this great, you know, meat burger. I don't want to have a vegan on my roster that I'm taking a percentage of every month off their back end. There's a whole... Business plans are interesting, but basically I'm more of a consultant we're all consultants for brands.
Okay.
So we work with every influencer in the world.
So if you were to interact with any influencer, have you ever thought like they would be really cool to work with because of their perception online or how they carry themselves?
That is such a good question. I mean, obviously the Kardashians come to mind because it's just like...
All right.
Like...
Which one of them? There's like a little country of them now, it seems like.
Well, I'm thinking because Kylie's the most expensive. Kendall just got paid that $250 to promote Fire Festival, $250,000, and then Kim. I mean, she's like a legend in that world. She's like the first selfie influencer.
What about Rob?
Rob would be a nightmare. I'd be like, can you answer my phone call? I'd be so scared. I'd like wire him the money and be like, I hope that he does it. No way. Although Chris would, hopefully. God, who would be interesting? You know that if you did, I mean, Tekashi 6ix9ine is in jail, but like, you know that if he promoted something, it would fly off the shelves. Like people would be like, oh, it's so cool and it's in the culture.
The first thing that he promoted coming out of jail, that would be pretty big.
Some
company would pay $250,000 for that. You could find a company to do that, right?
I think he could probably demand. Yeah, actually, I would say that $250,000 would be about right. I think they're even higher now, to be honest. I think Kim is going to be asking for at least $1 million.
Per post.
Yeah.
That's insane. I'm in the wrong business. Pardon me. You are in the right business. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Everything that we talked about, the statistics, the links, are going to be in the comments section. Thank you so much for your attention. Rachel, where do people find you?
Pretty simple. I have 2 first names. So Rachel, my last name's David, and that's on everything. Yeah.
Rachel David.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the interview with Rachel David. I'm absolutely committed to giving you education on 3 very important topics: customer experience, employee engagement, and company culture. If you want some more of that information, click the subscribe button right now so you can be alerted when I release my next video. I'll see you next time.